Well, good morning. It is a joy to greet you this morning, and I trust that all is going well with you in this new normal, being the church in changing times. Outside my window right now, as I have been working on this devotional this morning, I've been watching a process at work. There's a couple of sparrows who are building a nest in one of Gail's hanging baskets out on our porch. It's a fascinating process to watch. Each one of them will fly away and gather a little twig in their beak and come flying back and put it up there in the nest. The next one is coming in, and they're gathering um, twigs and small branches of various kinds, all in an effort to build their nest for a way to protect their eggs, which will soon become a nest full of chirping little birds, eager to receive whatever morsels those same two birds can bring to them as they start their lives out. Um, have you ever really thought about how many things in nature come together for the benefit of the greater good? I mean, we give little, if any, thought to the value of a small twig, but to Mr. and Miss Sparrow, it's the very thing they need to build a nest. And earlier this morning, I was watching as a small rabbit, just a little too large to be called a baby, made his way around the yard, feeding on small wildflowers that happened to appear in the lawn. I realize that I just said more about my lawn than I really should be sharing. But at any rate, uh, I, but at any rate, perhaps a better manicured lawn would be absent of such flowers. But for that little rabbit, they were just what he needed. As I've watched the birds while reading today's passage from 1 Timothy 5, I found it most interesting to see God's perfect object lesson in trying to understand what Paul is saying. It is true, some of Paul's words are hard to comprehend sometimes. We find ourselves far removed from Paul here in the 21st century. His culture was far distant from our own. Some of us have even taken great offense at what Paul has to say at some times. And by some people's standards in today's world, Paul is seen as rather chauvinistic. However, before we become distracted by what Paul has said, let's remember why Paul said it. Much as it is the case throughout all of creation, God has put certain parameters in place, especially as it relates to the family of God. Consider the principle that Paul is describing. Much as it is with our nuclear family, so it is with the community of faith. It is expected that everyone contribute to meeting the needs of each other in the church, especially in the early church, as they gathered together. Those who are least likely or least equipped to care for their own needs were to be provided for by the greater body. However, this provisional process is not to be abused by those who can provide for themselves. This is exactly what we find laid out for us in Acts chapter 2, in Luke's writing, when he talks about how the church came together and pooled their resources to meet the needs of those who were not as well blessed as others. It's reflected all through the New Testament, but also over in the Old Testament, the whole principle of hospitality as it related to hosting a stranger and caring for a stranger. Throughout the history of the church's mission has been to reach out and care for those in need. As a matter of fact, it was at the very core of the Methodist movement John Wesley wrote this. He said, God is the first object of our love. Its next office is to bear the defects of others. And we should begin the practice of this amidst our own household. So you see, the real question for us is this: how are we doing at being the church in changing times, especially as it relates to reaching out to one another? In a very literal way, this could be the definition of stewardship. For God has entrusted to us the bounty of his blessing, not for us to simply use for our own enjoyment and our own benefit, but so that we might also be a blessing to others. Consider these questions. Question number 1. In what ways has God blessed you so that you may be a blessing to others? In what ways has God blessed you so that you may be a blessing to others? Question 2. Who has God placed in your life to offer a caring hand? Who has God placed in your life to offer a caring hand? Question 3. As you consider the quote from John Wesley, how does it resonate with your life? As you consider the quote from John Wesley, how does it resonate with your life? Well, I hope you find these questions thought-provoking, especially as you respond to them, perhaps journal them. And I hope that there will be questions that you can reflect upon, not just today, but in days to come. And I hope you have a wonderful day in this new normal, being the church in changing times. Go in peace.